Welcome back, viewers and subscribers. It's your girl, Starflames, and we're back with another banging video, baby. So, if you're new, you guys know the do. Even if you're returning, please double check to ensure that you're subscribed, because oftentimes the algorithm acts really weird. Now, while you're double checking to ensure that you are subscribed, ensure that your notification bell is turned on as well. When you give the video a thumbs up, ensure that you actually see that thumbs up being highlighted. Thank you guys so very much in advance. Now guys, in this video, we're going to talk about Chris Brown being vindicated. I have the information that I was questioning, and with this information, you guys will literally see that the documentary that Warner Brothers has released and how they have positioned it, it's definitely given reason why Chris Brown would go ahead and file a lawsuit, and not just a lawsuit, a hefty one for that matter. In case you are not aware, Chris Brown has filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers after the release of a documentary that they did about Chris Brown. The title is Chris Brown, A History of Violence. In this documentary, based on what Chris Brown has in his lawsuit, Warner Brothers has listed him as a serial R-wordist. And they're saying that he has aggressive sexual behavior towards women. In this documentary, a lawsuit that was filed against Chris Brown appeared to be the focus, the highlight of the entire documentary. And as such, Chris Brown is firing back. Chris Brown said that he sent evidence to Warner Brothers that their claims about him are not accurate. And when I read that information where he said he sent them evidence that, the allegations that they are basing off this documentary on is not factual, I was like, what, evidence could he have sent to them? Well, honey, we have that information right now. I'm going to share a clip with you all, but also let me preface by saying that the last video that I did on Chris Brown, I saw people commenting who haven't watched the video. People said that I haven't acknowledged that Chris Brown has aggression issue or he did something to Rihanna. I literally said that in the video so many times. I don't know how is it that it missed you guys. So oftentimes I realize that some of you guys may watch the first minute of the video, assume that I didn't say something, assume that I didn't acknowledge something. I'm asking you kindly, if you're not going to watch the video in its entirety, please don't do that, because you're misleading my comment section when that is not the case. And thank you guys so very much in advance. I like to have everyone comment, but when I see the misleading comments that doesn't align with what was said in the video, I have to delete those misleading comments, okay? And I don't want to do that, because I believe that once your comments are respectful, they should be, whether we agree or disagree. I know you guys agree on that too, right? So, let's move on. In the last video that I did, I said I've never heard Chris Brown having a history of sexual abuse towards anyone. I know that he has a bad temper, but having a bad temper doesn't mean that you're an ex-abuser, because the two doesn't necessarily go hand in hand. They're not synonymous. Sometimes people just have a bad temper and, that's just it. It doesn't mean that they're out there taking disadvantage of women. And now I believe that the information that I'm about to share with you actually vindicates Chris Brown. And I'm not the only one who's saying this, because the information is out and the internet is saying, if Chris Brown had sent Warner Brothers this much information as proof, why did they go ahead to release that documentary? So what had happened was Chris Brown had a relationship with a young lady. They had sexy time. He messaged her. The message was a good, healthy message. And the person who was tipsy and dazed and had barely any recollection of the sexy time was actually Chris Brown, not the young lady. The young lady accused Chris Brown of doing something to her that never happened, and the communication between her and Chris Brown clearly highlights it. After she filed the lawsuit against Chris Brown submitted these evidence of the communication between him and the young lady. The court verified that the information was not fabricated, and as such, the young lady lawyers excused themselves from the case because she was caught in a major lie. The case could not continue, and as such, the case was tossed out by the court because the young lady was lying on Chris Brown. Chris Brown did not retaliate. He just let it be, allowed her to move on with her life. However, Warner Brothers is twisting the very, very same lawsuit to make it appears to be something that it's not. And I want to share this clip with you so that you guys have the information as well as evidence for your reference and verification. So let's take a look at this clip together, shall we? And then I'll get back with the rest of my commentary.
I'm not a lawyer, but I did read the entire lawsuit that Chris Brown has recently filed against Warner Brothers regarding the documentary they made about him. So let me give you a breakdown as to why he says they owe him $500 million. First of all, the lawsuit is against Warner Brothers, but it's also against the production company that made the documentary, producers of the documentary, and a woman named Chantel Deja Frank. Now, Chantel is key to this whole story, so let me give you a little bit of context. Back in 2022, Chantel, listed as a Jane Doe, filed a civil lawsuit against Chris Brown, alleging that while the two of them were at Diddy's Florida house, yes, Diddy, Chris led her to a bedroom, shut the door, prevented her from leaving that room, and then assaulted her. She went on to say that Chris completed what he was doing while he was still inside of her. And the next day, he told her to get a plan B. Now, Chantel gets her lawyers and she files this civil lawsuit. But the problem is those lawyers later withdrew themselves from the lawsuit, and the suit was eventually dismissed after Florida police recovered some text messages between Chris and Chantel that told a different story than the one Chantel told. The messages say, quote, "I don't like talking on phones about stuff like that. I'm just being proactive." And then she says, "Oh, okay, I'll get one." And then Chris says, "I definitely didn't bust inside ya. Was just hella faded, so I wanted to be sure." And then a little kissy face. Chantel says, "Okay, babe, that's fine. I want to get down at midnight." And then on the 31st, which again is the day after the alleged incident, Chantel texts, "Where you at?" And she texts Bay. And then more messages between the two of them are from later in January when she's asking what's up with him. She asks if they can hang out, and she asks about his intentions with her. So like I said, these messages were discovered, and from them, Chantel's attorneys withdraw themselves from the case, and the case is eventually dismissed.
So guys, there you have it. That clip is from I'm Not a Lawyer TikTok page. You guys can check her out to see that video in its entirety, right? But I just wanted to provide it to you guys that the evidence Chris Brown is talking about is the text messages that he sent to Warner Brothers. Now, when Chris Brown, responded to Warner Brothers before the lawsuit, he said that he did acknowledge that he has a history of being aggressive, but he's not a serial rapist. Also, he did state that he had spent the past couple of years working on himself and is not the individual in terms of being violent as he used to be. Now, he's acknowledging that he's now saying that while he acknowledges that he had a violent past, he has never outed anyone, and the young lady's case that they're using in reference to support their statement, that case is definitely not a valid one because the young lady was found out to be lying. Her attorneys dropped the case and the case was dismissed by the court. So as such, you know that Chris Brown definitely has some good grounds. He has some really good arguments here, and the internet is supporting him on this one because they're saying that the evidence is there clear as day to prove that the young lady was lying, and as such, Warner Brothers should have never released the documentary using her story and, pushing her narrative out there, knowing that it wasn't even factual first to begin with. So many people have been saying they hope Chris Brown wins. They can see that she is clearly a angry, jealous ex. But it brings us right back to, as I've been saying from the get-go, I've never heard of Chris Brown being in any situation where he has taken unpleasant disadvantage of a woman or man without his or her consent. I've never heard of that before. We've heard it from Diddy and other celebrities, but not Chris Brown. But we've heard that Chris Brown, he will get into fights easily, and he'll get drunk and get into fights easily. And we know that entire situation with Riri. So I'm just saying, violent past, yes, somewhat, but not to the extent of him being a serial rapist. But that's all I have to share in this video with you guys. Let me know what are your thoughts. While you're at it, remember, do everything you need to do on this video to help your girl out. Stay safe, stay blessed, and see you guys in the comment section. Peace.